Some of us don't eat properly, some of us don't sleep properly, some of us take pills, some of us smoke marijuana, some of us yell at people. We are all flawed, but today we're going to learn about how we can save a life. And one thing I want to point out is that we're not here today necessarily to learn how naloxone, which is what you're going to be learning about. It's a nasal mist, no needles. I know that when I was going to be trained in Revive training, I woke up and I said to Glenn, I'm really nervous. I don't think I can do this. He says, what are you talking about? I said, I can't put a needle in someone. I'm not good at this. He said, no, babe, it's mist. It's nasal mist. So it's very easy to use. And what I would suggest to you is not only might it come in handy with your friends, but more importantly, you live in your communities. You go to shopping malls, you go to Walmart, you go to CVS, you go to McDonald's. You go to the DMV to get your driver's license. These are all places, unfortunately, where these overdoses are happening. There was a young woman that the Capitol Police revived with naloxone who was overdosing 1 block from our house in downtown Richmond, Virginia. And this saved her life. So this is a community effort. It's not just about youth in schools, it's about your role in the community and saving lives. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for being a part of the solution. We're all here today to help one another and to lift one another up and to make sure that we say through this training, we care about our brothers and sisters. And we want to come alongside them and make sure that we live in healthy, safe communities. And so I also want to thank the few family members that I see here who have lost loved ones. Jill's brother, we know, passed away from poisoning some years ago. And anyway, we're just all here because we care about you and we care about Virginia and we want to make it a brighter and healthier place. And with that, I want to talk to you about someone. I'm going to introduce someone who is working to make Virginia much healthier, our new health commissioner. So Dr. Shelton has just joined the administration. She's a native of Bristol, Virginia, Southwest Virginia. She went to UVA and Eastern Virginia Medical School to get her degree. She was the woman of distinction, as anointed by the United Way, Southwest Virginia. Please welcome Dr. Karen Shelton. Thank you very much.
But the other kind of fentanyl, the one that is most rampant in our communities right now, is the illicit or the illegal fentanyl. Fentanyl has contributed in 2022 to over 75% of the deaths that we've had from overdose. We know that so many people most of us have friends or loved ones might have had most of us have had friends or loved ones who have been affected by an overdose. And today what we want to teach you is something that will empower you to be able to take care of a friend or a loved one. So many of us ask, what can I do if I find someone who's in an overdose? How do I even know how to recognize an overdose? The Revive training that you have today will help to empower you to understand or to recognize an overdose, and then give you the tools and the knowledge to do what can I do to help with that. Naloxone is a life-saving drug that helps to reverse the effects of the fentanyl and the opioids, and we want to train you about that today. Today we have Anthony Salgado, who is our Medical Reserve Corps coordinator for the Rappahannock Area Health District, and today he was going to teach you about Revive, about naloxone, and how you can recognize overdoses and save the death of a loved one. Anthony.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here to present on a very important topic, to teach you how to save a life by using naloxone to rapidly reverse an opioid overdose. Right, we got the screen coming up now. So I'm going to be talking to you about what opioids are, how to recognize an opioid overdose, what naloxone is, how to store it, and how to respond to an overdose. So to get started, we need to answer a couple of important questions. What are opioids and what is naloxone? There we go. What is an opioid? Opioids are a class of drugs that include heroin, synthetic opioids such as fentanyl, and prescription painkillers available legally from a pharmacy. Here we have a list of some of the most common opioids: oxycodone, heroin, fentanyl, and carfentanil. These are just the generic names. These drugs are also known under brand names or street and slang names. For example, oxycodone, also known as OxyContin or Percocet, slang name Ox or Percs. Different names apply for different opioids. Now here we have a graph of the number of opioid-related deaths in Virginia from 2017 to 2021. As you can see, onward from 2018, opioid overdose deaths have been increasing. From 2018 to 2021, that number has more than doubled. Now there are many reasons and causes for this, but the biggest cause is the introduction of fentanyl to the illegal drug market. Fentanyl, as you heard earlier, is a highly potent opioid. It takes very little to experience a high and very little to experience an overdose. It can be laced into other opioids, and it can be laced in other drugs that are not opioids, such as cocaine, methamphetamine, Xanax or Adderall acquired illegally. Now we want to understand a few things about opioid addiction. People who become addicted to opioids come from many different backgrounds, different age groups, different professions, different races and ethnicities. Anyone can develop an addiction. People don't plan to become addicted. When someone takes an opioid for the first time, they may like the way it makes them feel, and they think to themselves they can control how much they take, or that they can stop whenever they want. It actually becomes very difficult to treat an addiction as time goes on. It can be very difficult to treat it because it takes many different treatment options, different resources, a lot of time, or financial resources. And now what is naloxone? Naloxone, also known under the brand name Narcan, is a life-saving medication designed to rapidly reverse an opioid overdose. You can see here in the picture, it comes in a box like this, pre-packaged with 2 nasal sprays. It cannot be abused, it is not an opioid, you can't use it to feel good, and side effects are exceptionally rare. And it only works against opioids. It will not work against other classes of drugs, different overdoses, such as alcohol or cocaine. It only works against opioid overdoses. So now, what may make someone more susceptible or more likely to experience an opioid overdose? Here we have some risk factors on the screen. Prior overdose. Someone who has overdosed in the past, that does not guarantee that they have sought treatment or received the treatment that they need. Also, someone who has overdosed before, it may be an indicator that they are already taking high doses of opioids. Returning to use after a period of not using. Over time, when using opioids, your brain will develop a tolerance, meaning it takes more opioids to experience a high. If for any reason you stop taking opioids after developing a strong addiction, that tolerance will decrease. So after a period of, let's say, 5 years, maybe you had treatment, abstinence, maybe you went to prison, maybe you were hospitalized and you didn't have opioids to take. You decide to go back to opioids, your tolerance has decreased, you leave off on the high doses that you were taking. That is very risky, very likely to experience an overdose. Also, mixing drugs or experimenting with drugs. If you experiment with different drugs acquired illegally, you are more likely to come across fentanyl. Mixing drugs can also be very dangerous. Opioids are a class of drugs included in the depressant category, meaning it makes people feel more relaxed, it relieves stress and pain. And there are other drugs that are stimulants, such as cocaine, that make you feel more active, more aware. Now, if you mix a stimulant and a depressant, they do not cancel each other out. You don't meet somewhere in the middle. What it's going to do is your body's going to have to respond to 2 different categories of drugs that are going to target different parts of your body, which can be very risky. And now, how do we recognize an opioid overdose? Here we have some common symptoms of an opioid overdose. the biggest indicator of an overdose is going to be unresponsiveness. Someone who's overdosing will not respond to anything you do. You shout their name, you tap their shoulder, they won't wake up, their eyes won't open, their eyes won't follow you. Their breathing may become infrequent, or it can stop completely. You might notice a change in skin tone. So for lighter skinned people, the skin turns bluish purple. And for darker skinned people, the skin turns grayish or ashen. You may notice a deep snoring or gurgling coming from their throat, or a pale or clammy face. Their heart rate or pulse may slow down or stop completely. Again, unresponsiveness will be the biggest indicator of an opioid overdose. Now, how do we respond to an opioid overdose? Well, before we get into the steps of how to respond, it's important that you're aware of a couple laws here in Virginia. The Good Samaritan Law is a law that exists across all states in the U.S., but here in Virginia, a clause specifically exists to cover the administration of naloxone. Now here I've highlighted the most important information that you should leave with today. Any person who in good faith administers naloxone to a person who is believed to be experiencing an overdose shall not be liable for any civil damages or any personal injury that results from the administration of naloxone. Essentially saying, as long as you act in good faith, you administer naloxone to someone you believe is overdosing, whether it actually be the case or not. If that person attempted to sue you in court because they got injured during any part of that process, you are covered under this law. You are not held liable for any civil damages. Then we have the Safe Reporting of Overdoses law. This is meant to encourage you to call for help, to call 911 whenever someone is overdosing. This law states, no individual shall be subject to arrest or prosecution for the following codes: the unlawful purchase, possession, or consumption of alcohol, the unlawful purchase, possession, consumption of marijuana, the possession of a controlled substance, such as opioids, intoxication in public, and possession of controlled paraphernalia, if and as long as you follow these steps during an overdose. You must act in good faith, seek emergency medical attention for yourself or another individual that you believe is overdosing. You must remain at the scene of the overdose. And if that person goes to a secondary location, whether it be outside, to another room, to the ambulance, to the hospital, you follow them. And now when law enforcement arrive, they may be the first ones on the scene, or they may come back later to investigate. You want to truthfully identify yourself to them. Again, as long as you follow these steps, you are protected from arrest and prosecution to these codes we talked about earlier, in a situation where someone is overdosing. Now let's get into the steps of how to respond. So here we have a mannequin. Let's call him John. And we're all here at a party together. And John appears to be unresponsive. He seems to be in medical distress. We think he could be having an opioid overdose. So the first thing we're going to want to do is check for responsiveness. We want to see, again, unresponsiveness is the biggest indicator of an overdose. So we want to try a few different options. We might shout his name. Hey, John, wake up. You might tap his shoulder, might pinch his earlobe. Another thing you can do is give a sternum rub. Now the sternum is a bone in the upper chest in between the rib cage. So follow along with me. Hold up your hand, ball it up into a fist. Now place your fist in the upper chest in between your rib cage. You're going to apply some pressure and move your knuckles up and down. For most people, this will feel uncomfortable, a little painful, or it may wake you up. I know it's still early in the morning. You can go ahead and put your hands down. So we might try a sternum rub on John here. We notice he's not responding. We also want to check for breathing. So I'll put my ear to his mouth and nose to hear or feel if I see breathing. I also want to look down at the chest to see if it's rising, see if he's breathing. So I put my head down just like this. And now if John is unresponsive, or if he is not breathing, we move on to the next step. We call for help, we call 911. A person who has overdosed needs to be assessed by medical professionals. That person may have a lot of opioids in their body and needs a lot of naloxone to stay alive. Or there could be other drugs in their system, or it could be another medical condition. So if, again, we were all at a party together, I might assign someone to call 911. Now you want to identify someone by name or the way they look. So I might say, hey Anthony, call 911 I think someone's overdosing. If I don't know someone's name, I might say, you in the blue shirt, call 911, I think John here is overdosing. You want to avoid saying something like, someone call 911, because then the task is not assigned to someone, and there may be a delay in getting help right away. If you have your phone on you, in this situation, you could take it out, dial 911, put it on speakerphone so you can continue with the next steps. It's important to tell the 911 operator that someone is unresponsive, that you think it could be an opioid overdose, and tell them exactly where you are. The building, the room, any features that can help get help to you right away. So, if for any reason you need to leave the person alone, whether that be to grab your phone, to grab naloxone, or to grab someone else's assistance, you want to place that person in the recovery position. Again, only if you have to leave the person alone for any reason. Now, John here is just a torso, so I can't put him on his side. But in the recovery position, you place the individual on their side with their legs bent slightly. The bottom arm, which is the one on the ground, is reaching outward. This will prevent them from laying down on their stomach. You also want to make sure their mouth is pointed downward towards the ground and their chin is raised forward. What this position does is it opens up the airways, and if that person were to vomit, it'll go on the ground and not get stuck in their throat, risking choking. Again, you only do this if you have to leave the individual alone for any amount of time. So now, we're on the phone with 911. We want to give 2 rescue breaths to the person that we believe to be overdosing. So as you can see on the screen, we have a CPR face shield. I also have the one in my hands. If you have one available, you use it to create a barrier between your faces. So you would place the person on their back if they were in the recovery position, flip them over on their back, put one end of the nozzle in the person's mouth, and the other nozzle is where you'll be providing your rescue breathing. You want to make sure you tilt their chin up. You pinch and plug their nose tightly so air is not escaping. And you want to put your mouth on the nozzle, give 2 regular breaths, even, not too fast, not too deep, 2 regular breaths. You also want to keep an eye on the chest to see if it's rising. You'll see it fill up with air, letting you know that air is getting into their body. So we provided the 2 rescue breaths. Now, how do we administer naloxone? So if you have naloxone on hand, it comes in a box and 2 prepackaged nasal sprays. Look, comes in a package just like this. On the back side, you peel it open, and you get the nasal spray out. As you can see on the screen, you put your pointer finger and your middle finger next to the applicator, and your thumb goes on the plunger on the bottom. So we place the applicator in the person's nostril, and we press and click on that plunger. You'll hear a click and a spray, lets you know the medicine has been dispensed. Now the nasal spray is a one-time use, so we'll set it aside or we'll throw it away. Now we want to assess and respond to the situation, or we want to continue our rescue breathing, So, as we talked about in the previous steps, we have a CPR face shield. We use that, place it in their mouth, plug and pinch their nose, keep an eye on their chest, tilt their chin forward, and provide 1 breath every 5 seconds, and see if the chest is rising. If the chest is not rising, you want to tilt the chin up a little higher, plug and pinch the nose a little tighter. Now we're going to assess and respond. There are a couple of situations in which we need to use a second dose of naloxone. 1, if the individual is not up in 3 minutes, we take out the second dose, put it in the opposite nostril, and dispense the naloxone. Or if that individual comes up, they were walking and talking, but then a few minutes pass and they're overdosing again, we give that second dose. When the individual wakes up, you want to be honest, let them know what happened, let them know you believe they have overdosed, let them know you have used naloxone, let them know they should wait for help to arrive. Now, some people may experience acute opioid withdrawal, which is extreme flu-like symptoms, a massive headache, extreme discomfort. It's important to prevent them from taking more opioids and to let them know what is going on. Now, where should we keep our naloxone and how do we keep it effective? Naloxone has a shelf life of 2 to 4 years. You can see the expiration on the box or on the nasal spray itself. I recommend taking it in your bag or your purse, taking it wherever you go. It's ideal to be in room temperature, or you can go in short amounts of time in extreme temperature. So if it's in your bag all day on a hot summer day or cold winter day, perfectly fine. Just avoid leaving it in your car, or keep it away from sunlight, keep it out of reach of children. Although you can use naloxone on young children if needed, you don't want them to waste the spray or get it on themselves. Where do we get more naloxone? So if you don't have naloxone, or if you've used one or both doses, if you lose it, if it expires, if you left it in your car for too long, you can go to your local health department or community services board to get naloxone at no cost. I just recommend calling ahead of time to make sure they have some in stock and that they have the time to process your request. You can also go to your local pharmacy, like a Walgreens or CVS, although they may charge an out-of-pocket cost or insurance anywhere from $25 to $150, depending on the brand and formulation. So I recommend getting it at no cost. Thank you again for listening to this presentation. EMT students, if you completed a consent form from you and your parents, you can receive naloxone at the back tables at the end of today's event. Guests and non-students, you are also welcome to receive free naloxone at the conclusion of today's event in the back tables. Thank you again for listening.
Thank Governor Youngkin, Lieutenant Governor Sears, Attorney General Mraz, and our First Lady, and my colleagues in the General Assembly for their leadership this session on taking concrete action on an issue that has impacted so many Virginia families. We are glad to have them here in Stafford County, surrounded by our heroes and law enforcement who are on the front lines, the dedicated public servants in our school system, and the students who have the greatest stake in stopping fentanyl from destroying the dreams and aspirations of their generation. We know that our partners in education will be essential in assuring the vision behind this legislation is met, a Virginia where all of our students are safe from a dangerous, deadly drug. It is my honor to introduce Stafford High Principal Alan Hicks.
Thank you, Delegate Durant. I appreciate you here today. Thank you so much. I'd like to take a quick moment to again thank of our honorable guests for attending today. We appreciate you. I know Dr. Taylor introduced you this morning, but again, I'd like to thank you as our students, our community members, and everyone's here supporting this today. So again, thank you for coming and supporting our students and supporting our state. I'd like to introduce now Delegate Scott Wyatt for the House District 97. Delegate Wyatt.
Thank you, and it's great to be here today on National Fentanyl Awareness Day. My name is Scott Wyatt, and I'm representing the new 60th District in Virginia House of Delegates from Hanover County. I want to thank Governor Youngkin, Lieutenant Governor Sears, Attorney General Mraz, taking the lead on addressing this nationwide crisis that the citizens of Virginia face. When asked to carry a bill in the House side that adds fentanyl to the definition of weapon of terrorism, I immediately agreed. My time serving as a county supervisor and now as a state delegate, I've heard too many stories from citizens sharing family stories that have lost family members. This bill creates another Class 4 felony that charges someone who chooses to distribute, sell, manufacture fentanyl across the Commonwealth. We owe it to the families of the victims who have lost loved ones to get tough on the criminals who want to push these drugs and to create a deterrent across the Commonwealth. The recent Virginia Department of Health report just published in April of this year confirmed that 1,951 Virginians have lost their life to fentanyl poisoning in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 5 citizens of Virginia each day pass due to fentanyl poisoning. We must work together and enforce these laws as well as raise education and awareness. Please know that fentanyl is being disguised as prescription drugs such as oxycodone, Adderall, and Xanax. And to the young people here today, never take a tablet that your doctor doesn't prescribe and your pharmacist dispense. And please share this message with your family and friends to continue to raise this awareness. So if you see something, please say something. You could save a life. At this time, I'd like to introduce a leader in the Virginia Senate that was first elected in 2012. He represents the new 28th Senatorial District, consisting of part of Fauquier County and Spotsylvania County, as well as Culpeper, Orange, Greene, Madison, and Rappahannock counties. He has a distinguished military career, serving as a U.S. Army Ranger and Infantry officer. He serves on the General Laws Committee, Local Government, Privileges and Elections, Rehabilitation, and Social Services Committees in the Virginia Senate. Please welcome my friend, Senator Bryce Reeves.
Well, good morning. I'm going to take this out for a second. I'm a coach. Some of you I know because I coached in lacrosse. And I want to introduce somebody that came in a little bit late. He's a colleague of mine, but I want you all to know who he is because he's our caucus leader. He's also my seatmate, Senator Ryan McDougal. If you'll stand up and just wave to everybody, thank you. I have a very short amount of time to talk to you all today. One of the things that my delegate colleague didn't mention is I used to work undercover narcotics. And I used to catch these bad guys who were selling this stuff to you. And let me just tell you, my son graduated Riverbend High School, or I guess Christ Episcopal after COVID and everything else, but he's not far off from you guys. Just finished his freshman year at Texas A&M. And I will tell you that fentanyl will kill you. Make no joke, it's gonna kill you. And it could be on weed, it could be on a pill, it could be on anything. And you need to be aware of it. Because this isn't a joke. Every family, you heard from our First Lady today. She talked about a family that was close to them. Let me tell you about a family member that's close to me. My daughter dated a guy that went to Riverbend High School. They graduated, both went to college at UVA, had great careers, started those off. One was on the West Coast, my daughter was in DC. Her boyfriend took an Adderall tablet from his roommate that he thought was normal Adderall. It was laced with fentanyl, and with a matter of seconds, he was dead. Gone, like that. Don't mess around with this stuff. I'm just telling you. I'm not trying to scare you, just telling you the reality. You saw the graphs, you saw the charts. Learn how to use this medicine that's gonna help you. Because there's other stuff these idiots are putting on this stuff to keep you hooked. That this anti-opioid drug counter will not affect. And those death rates have even skyrocketed now. Don't want to leave you in a negative note, because I want to introduce you to somebody who's a dear personal friend of mine who's going to speak to you now. She is what we call Madam President in the Senate. I'm an Army Ranger. She's a U.S. Marine. So we butt heads every once in a while. But I want to tell you just a quick story. about our Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Sears. There was a day we play practical jokes, sometimes we're like you all, and we always take her gavel that she gavels in with, and we put it in a freshman senator's desk, and they don't know about it, right? So she'll go up and she'll say, "Where's my gavel?" And you know, it's kind of a childish prank, and I remember Travis Hackworth, Senator Hackworth, opened his desk drawer to put it down, and he didn't say anything. He didn't want to get caught with a gavel on his desk. So our Lieutenant Governor takes off her heels and uses her heel to gavel in the Senate. I think it's the first time in Virginia history that a Lieutenant Governor used her shoe to use as a gavel. Ladies and gentlemen, our 42nd Lieutenant Governor, Jackie Robinson's number, Winsome Earl Sears. Lieutenant Governor.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to welcome, and I'm the guest, so want to thank all of my elected officials at every level for being here, and Madam First Lady, especially you, because you didn't just wade into the fentanyl crisis. You were up to your neck in it. That's how much you care, and we thank you for caring. When I worked for the homeless shelter, I tried to get women and their children back on their feet. We wanted to get them as fast as we could back to stability. And part of that included that some of them had used drugs. And so we would test them and we would try to find the help for them. But I never saw anything like fentanyl. Not back then. This thing will kill you in a heartbeat. In fact, the number of fentanyl overdoses, you've seen it, the deaths in our Commonwealth has grown just in the last 10 years. More than 2,000 Virginians have died. In fact, again, since 2020, more Virginians, I want you to listen to this, more Virginians have passed away from fatal drug overdoses than guns, than car accidents, total. In fact, when you look at the chart that shows you the top 3 unnatural deaths in all of Virginia, here's the graph, like this. Here are car accidents. Here are gun deaths. Here's fentanyl. You can't get away from that. So, just to drill down more into some details, opioid overdose deaths are almost twice as much happening in males than females. Fellas, it's coming for you. In 2021, black males fatally overdosed on opioids nearly 1.5 times more than white males. So, here's what we know. More must be done. More must be done to reach our communities and connect them to a pathway to recovery and renewal, because too many of our souls are gone from this world way too soon. And let me bring it home for you. My father said to me when I was your age, and younger, in fact, if you leave your drink anywhere, soda or anything, do not come back and drink it. Don't care if you trust your friend or not. I had a friend, my very good friend in high school, and one day she said to me, "Watch the store owner." And I thought, watch the store owner? So I watched the store owner. And she stole a pair of earrings. And I realized then, I've got to get away from her. She is not good for my life because I'm trying to get somewhere. I don't know what happened to her. I know what happened to me. And then my sister, who I'm 4 years older, because I wanted to be cool, be with the in crowd, you know, everybody was smoking cigarettes, and so I bought a pack. And she found them. And I saw her smoking them. And my sister is the one I have to thank that I'm not a smoker today, because I pulled that out of her mouth and I said, you are not going to blame me for this. My sister did that for me. And then with my daughter, one of my daughters, I said to her, you can't be the only one of good character in your entire group of friends. Don't think that you're strong enough that they won't pull you down. I told her to lose those friends. And so I say the same thing to you. We don't want to look at you in a casket. Don't think you're strong enough. I say this finally. My campaign manager from 20 plus years ago, upstanding man, loved the Lord to death. In fact, he was a preacher. He died last year. Drugs. Something happened in his life. He could not overcome it, he thought, and he turned to drugs. Don't think you are strong enough. The minute you think you're strong enough, you're not. I couldn't even look at him in the casket because I couldn't believe he was gone. So I say to you, don't think you're strong enough. If you find a group of people that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, get away from them. You only have this one life. This one life. Make it count. Don't be the statistic, because you saw what I saw. Did you notice what happened? When you saw that person there, they were no longer a person. It was called the body. That's who you become, the body, when you're no longer there. So take from this that you're not going to be the one they call the body. This is your one life. Make it count. God bless you.
I'm back, and I'm going to be very brief because you all have been exceptionally patient. I have the distinct privilege of introducing you to my husband. You know, I often say when I'm in environments like this that everyone sitting here who's serving or who's been elected, or those of you who are in student government and are here as leaders of this school, you know, you are all here because of the merit for what you've contributed. I stand here because of marriage. I'm married into this. And so that's what I bring to bear. But you all are the deserving ones. Thank you so much to our elected officials for all you've done to make this day a realization. I could tell you all about my husband, that he's 6'6", played basketball in high school in Virginia Beach, went on to college and played basketball. Well, he sort of played basketball. He had a front row seat, if you know what I mean. At his university in Houston, Texas, he says that about himself. At Rice, he went on to Harvard Business School. He worked in finance for over 25 years, and that's how we spent our lives, is with him working in the private sector. And in 2020, he stepped out of that job, and he decided he wanted to serve, and he had the crazy idea to serve in public service. But more importantly, my husband's a dad. We have 4 children. Our youngest is in high school, just like you all, and we have one who's graduating from college this month and 2 that are out in the working world. And so we have really enjoyed being surrounded by youth, by bright minds and energetic young people just like you for this last decade of our married lives. And we are here because we love you and we care about you, and we want every single person in this room to leave and start something really great. We want you to go home and tell your families about this, and your friends and your peers and your communities. We know it's hard. We want you to be brave. And I guarantee you, if they made this t-shirt in an extra, extra large, your governor would be wearing one today. So please help me welcome the 74th Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, my husband, Glenn Youngkin.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for being trained on Narcan. First Lady and I went through it a few months ago. Takes no time, and all of a sudden you're equipped to do something extraordinary, which is to save someone's life. It happened right in front of the executive mansion. A life was saved because someone had been trained. And so now you're part of the army that is equipped to save a friend's life. It's just hugely important. Suzanne, thank you for the amazing introduction and your commitment to this. And I hate fentanyl too. They don't make the shirt big enough, as you said, so I'll get a big one. And it is so great to be here at Stafford High School. Come on, Stafford, here we go. You all are blessed with great leaders. You really are. I want to thank Dr. Taylor. Thank you for your leadership. Amazing. Principal Hicks for your leadership. Thank you for hosting today. I want to thank the whole Stafford team, and I want to congratulate Ben Diggs for being chosen as the 2023 Outstanding Secretary of School Secretary. So now, in case you didn't notice, you have the entirety of state government here today. I mean, everybody's here. Why? Because this is hugely important. And we wanted to come together at Stafford High School and work with you, be your partners, in order to elevate everyone's understanding about how serious this fentanyl crisis is. It's National Fentanyl Awareness Day, but I think it is Virginia's day to make a stand. To make a stand and say that we are going to do something about this, not just worry about it. And so we're thrilled to be here. I want to thank Delegate Tara Durant, who, by the way, lives right here. I mean, this is her world, and I saw 2 of your signs on the way over. That was really cool. But I want to thank you for your leadership, and particularly for helping us really focus on this scourge. See, I wish I was here talking about academic achievement or watching a football game or a theater performance right here, because I saw great posters out about the great theater performances. But instead, we're talking about a drug that's killing people. We're talking about a drug that is killing people. And I think that is reason enough for us to come together and invest some time. See, this is not just a public safety issue. It's not just a national security issue. This is a public health crisis. It's a crisis. And that means we all got to lock arms together and go to work and fix it. We got to fix it. And we've seen and heard stories after stories after stories from this morning, your friends, from the Attorney General, from everyone, about the challenges that we've got, about a drug that two granules can kill you. And I know you heard this morning, but I'm going to say it again, that Virginia State Police have seized 42 pounds of this stuff. 42 pounds, enough to kill every single Virginian. Every single one. And that's just what we've seized. And sadly, there's probably more out there than we've seized. These statistics are just unreal to me. Unreal to me. We've all heard, and I'll repeat it again. 5 high school students overdose in the bathroom in Arlington. One of them dies. 4 of them are saved because people knew how to use use naloxone, Narcan. But one of them died right there on the floor. It's unbelievable. We have personal friends. And I hate seeing these signs. Grayson, forever 21. Brooke, forever 16. Jamie, forever 24. We got to act. We got to go to work. It's individual and it's collective. And when we get together and act as one, we can do amazing things. Amazing things. So you've already taken this first step, getting trained today. That's huge. You can be an example to your family and your friends. Get them trained. And of course, as I said, we've got the entire of state government here. The entire state government. And I know you've had a chance to meet everybody, but I'm going to go through it again. I want you to, everybody stand up because we stand together with you. Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears. Attorney General Jason Miyares. Senator Bryce Reeves. Senator Ryan McDougal. Delegate Scott Wyatt. Delegate Tara Durant. Delegate Phil Scott. Delegate Tim Anderson. And my amazing cabinet, the folks that go to work every day and deliver. Secretary John Littell, Secretary Bob Mosier, Secretary Amy Gadara, Secretary Greg Crenshaw, who I think is here, but I think he's doing a training someplace else with our military. He is our Secretary of Veteran and Defense Affairs. This group is committed, and there's dozens and dozens of others that are committed, that are here working together. And then I would be remiss if I didn't point out, this is the First Lady's passion. She's tired of watching people die. And so, my love, I just thank you for all that you're doing. So, this morning I signed 8 bills. 8 bills to bring together a collective approach addressing this crisis. I know you've heard a little bit about them. Let me go ahead and hit them summary again. First of all, Senator Todd Pillion, who is a steadfast supporter and a great partner, patron of the Commonwealth Opioid Abatement and Remediation Fund. This is a fund that's been funded by penalties for all the drug manufacturers who allowed and encouraged over-prescription writing. And this fund is going to help us address opioid and fentanyl addiction. And this bill, in fact, gives state funds back to Virginians through Attorney General Miyares' office to make grants and donations and other assistance to treat and prevent and reduce opioid disorders. We have legislation that was sponsored by Delegate Wyatt and Senator Reeves that importantly designates fentanyl as a weapon of terrorism and makes it a Class 4 felony if you manufacture, if you distribute. It's a weapon of terrorism. This is serious stuff. I want to thank both of you for carrying that bill. It's amazing. Senator Favole and Delegate Corner, patron of the Virginia Opioid Use Reduction and Jail-Based Substance Use Disorder Treatment and Transition Fund, which allows us to go into our jails and help folks that need help. Senator Pillion also, patron Senate Bill 1415, establishes a new and comprehensive plan for the distribution of naloxone. See, the issue with Narcan and naloxone is we got to get it in everybody's hands because it works. We got to teach people to use it. We got to get it in their hands so that everybody can take the Revive training. This comes with our last piece of legislation that adds folks across government to be designated as the list of authorized Narcan administrators. They can, in fact, train and administer. It's hugely important. This allows our Department of Corrections team to do what they need to do in order to keep people alive. But more importantly, we are bringing together not just legislative action, but executive action. You You see, when we do all this at one time, we can move mountains. So today, with you, I will be signing Executive Order 26. And Executive Order 26 orders, based on the authority of the government, state government to comprehensively address these challenges. And what I can do as governor is instruct secretaries, agencies, and departments to get to work on specific initiatives. We launched an overall transformation of behavioral health last year. It's called Right Help Right Now. Part of Right Help right now is to make sure that we have the capacity and capabilities across the Commonwealth of Virginia in order to make folks that are experiencing crisis know that they can get the help right when they need it. There'll be more resources going into our schools. There'll be more mobile resources. There'll be more physical resources. There'll be more professional resources in order to support Virginians. A lot of young people who are struggling. But this today, Executive Order 26, is focused on fentanyl. And we're going to enhance public safety measures and penalties for manufacturers and distributors. We're going to invest in prevention and recovery. We're going to educate our communities so that people understand not only the deathly nature of this drug, but how to administer Narcan. We're going to expand access to treatment. We're going to comprehensively organize government to get to work. This is a critically important step for us to bring the all-of-government approach to partner with localities and Virginians to address this crisis. See, as I said, it's National Fentanyl Awareness Day, but we're starting right here in Stafford. We're starting right here as the epicenter of a place to spread the word. And it's on all of you. I need all of you to tell your friends. Tell your friends, post, tweet, tell them this is important. Take ownership of what you've done today, which is to get trained, and encourage others to do so. See, we've got 60 simultaneous Revive trainings going on across the Commonwealth today. 60. So you're part of something that is enormous, enormous. You've heard the stats. You've gotten the training. Now it's time to go to work. That's why this is so important. There's a lot more to do. Folks, we need to secure the border and stop the flow of fentanyl. We know where it's coming from. It comes up through Mexico. The source of it is China. We know it. We've got to secure our border and stop the flow of this drug. The cartels have taken over. We've got work to do in cooperation with governors and the federal government in order to make that happen. We need leadership from the Biden administration. I need them to close the border. We need them to stop the flow of this drug. Every state is a border state. Every one. We can do this. We can do it. Let's be honest. Virginia rocks. We need to make it rock a little more. And the way we're going to get it to rock a little more is to make it safer. We can all do this together. So, it's my privilege right here at Stafford High School to sign Executive Order 26. We're all in the team. We're all in this together. We're all locking arms in order to put fentanyl where it belongs. Fentanyl where it belongs, which is simply yesterday's news and not tomorrow's. And together, we can do that. God bless you. Let's go sign this executive order. All right, anybody else want to come up here and do this? Come on, let's bring some folks up. I love it. Come on. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Not a couple, we're bringing a lot. Good morning. Hey, can we put some down here too? Come on, these guys coming down here. coming. Thanks for coming. Amazing. Thanks for being here. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, fill in here. This is amazing. It's so good to see you. Thank you. Thanks for coming too. All right, everybody, you ready? Here we go. Now, you're all going to have an active role here at the end. So when we sign this thing, then I'm going to count to 3, and everybody's going to say, no more fentanyl. All right? That's what we're going to do. Let me get this thing signed. So, as part of our Right Help Right Now initiative, today I'll sign Executive Order 26 to crush the fentanyl epidemic. Crush it. Strengthening Virginians' interdiction and enforcement response to the fentanyl crisis. The executive order directs state agencies to enact a first-of-its-kind comprehensive fentanyl strategy in 3 key areas. First, prevention and treatment. Second, public safety and drug interdiction. And third, reorganization of government and data collection so that we can get the job done. This executive order shall be effective upon its signing. Let's go to work, and on 3, no more fentanyl. 1, 2, 3. No more fentanyl! Awesome. Thanks, Stafford High. Thanks, Stafford High. Let's go to work.